Welcome back, everybody. We are going to start the second half of Unit 2 today, starting with Lesson 16. And what the second half of this polynomials unit is about is something called rational functions. And today we're going to introduce to you what a rational function is. A rational function, as it says here, is a function with a fraction in which there are polynomial or polynomials in the numerator, denominator, or both. So that is what we call a rational function. And today is kind of an intro lesson to rational functions. We are going to look at the volume and surface area and how we could use that to create a rational function. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and look at the examples for today's lesson. So the formula for the volume of a cylinder is V equals pi times r squared times h. Assume that a cylinder has a volume of 452 cubic centimeters. Use the formula for volume and the given volume, 452, to create a rational function for height. Hint, plug in 452 for V and solve for h. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So our formula is pi times r squared times h, and we're going to plug in the appropriate numbers. So our volume is 452. And then we have pi times r squared times h. So we're going to plug in 452 for v, and now we're going to solve for h. In other words, I need to get h by itself. Now, how am I going to do that? Well, all three of these things are being multiplied together. So how do I get rid of multiplication? I do the opposite, and that's divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by pi. If I do that, that'll get rid of this. I'm also going to divide both sides by r squared because that will get rid of that. And I'll be left with h. I'll be left with specifically h equals 452 divided by pi r squared. So use the formula for volume and the given volume to create a rational function for height. This right here is my rational function. 452 over pi times r squared. Number 2, the formula for surface area of a cylinder is S equals 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi rh. So S equals 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. Use your formula and your answer from number 1 to create a rational function for the surface area of a cylinder with a volume of 452 cubic centimeters. So to do that, I am going to take the formula for surface area, 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r times, and instead of writing h, I'm going to plug in what I just got in number 1. So I'm literally going to take my answer from number 1, which was height equals 452 divided by pi r squared. I'm going to plug that in for h. That's what it means by using your answer from number 1. So now I can go ahead and simplify things a little bit. So I have 2 pi r squared plus, with fractions, I can actually extend this fractional divider here. So that's what I'm going to do. 2 pi r times 452 over pi r squared. So I can go ahead and I can extend the fractional divider and to enable me to simplify, I have a pi in the numerator and a pi in the denominator that I can cancel out. Okay. I could also simplify the r's, okay, because I have 2 pi r squared plus 2 times r times 452 over r squared. Now, r squared is really r times r, right? All I did was rewrite r squared as r times r. And the reason I'm doing that is I can now cancel this r with one of the r's on the bottom. So I'm left with 2 pi r squared plus 2 times 452 over r. And if I simplify that further, it'll be 2 pi r squared plus 2 times 452. So 2 times 452, use a calculator if you need to. I certainly am. So that's going to be plus 904 over r. And this right here is your answer. Okay? So notice when I simplify here, I end up with 2 pi r squared. This part stays the same. And when I simplify with my answer from number 1, I end up with double the volume. So double 452 is 904 over r. Okay? This is an important thing to realize because the cooldown for this lesson is going to be something very similar, almost exactly the same as what I just did, but with a different volume. So make sure you pay attention to how I did this and how I simplified this surface area formula into 2 pi r squared plus 904 over r. Essentially what I did is I created a rational function, which is the purpose of the second half of this unit. And that is it for lesson 16.